Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is Station. I'm ready.
ABC News, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is ABC News. David Shirley, how do you hear us?
Good morning, David. I hear you loud and clear. Welcome on board the International Space Station.
Always a pleasure to speak with you, Christina, especially now you're a record setter. Getting ready. You didn't go to space thinking you were going to set a bunch of records, at least a couple. How does it feel?
You know, that's right. I didn't necessarily know what this mission was going to turn into when I launched, but I think one of the things about the astronaut corps is that we are taught to be adaptable and to be ready for anything and any mission that comes our way. And one thing I like to say to my friends who also were surprised when I had my mission extended was that when we started this job, fulfilling our dreams and getting to contribute to this program, none of us knew what our space destiny was going to be. And it turns out that for me, I got the opportunity to live and work on the International Space Station for almost 11 months. So that's been my privilege and my honor.
It was a big deal, the first all-woman spacewalk. Now, you've done a couple of them. In fact, the last one ran for, almost 8 hours, and a lot of us watched it, but didn't get quite the same attention. Can you add some perspective of the first one being such a big deal, and the work was the same on the third one?
You know, that's right. I think it speaks to a lot of things. First of all, on that first all-female spacewalk that Jessica and I did, we were truly overwhelmed by the amount of support, by the amount of enthusiasm, and by the amount of people that reached out to let us know that it did serve as inspiration to them. So that was wonderful. It was wonderful to follow in the footsteps of those that paved the way before us and to let them know that through their efforts in the past, we were able to achieve our dreams and to take that next step. And I think it is wonderful, actually, that the third time around, it's already become commonplace. We recognize now that we're doing the job the same as any of our colleagues, and we're all excelling. We all are held to the same standards, very high standards, and it really just is kind of transparent, and that's how we want it to be going forward.
Let's talk a little bit about your record. So you are now the longest duration flight for an American woman in space. Part of the reason is that the American capsules by SpaceX and Boeing were not ready. We expected you to come down in one of those. More broadly, talk about what you think, where we are in that program. It looks like they're about ready and you're just going to miss it.
You know, that's right. I was hoping to get a chance to welcome some of my friends on board on those commercial vehicles, but it didn't turn out that way. And I was never planned myself to return on one of those vehicles. I was always trained on Soyuz for Soyuz return. I will say that it's been very exciting. In my time here, I've seen a lot of the really big milestones of those programs take place. The Boeing Starliner OFT mission, the launch aborts and pad abort tests for the various commercial vehicles, and also talking with my colleagues and learning just how close they are in their flight training and how ready they are to be test pilots for these new vehicles. It's a really exciting time.
What's been the hardest thing going more than 300 days in the station for you?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think about that a lot. I do find that every day is an opportunity to bring my best, and I think one of the challenges being here long term is that the engineers on the ground and our flight operations team on the ground has made living and working here so easy and almost comfortable that I think the challenge is actually remaining vigilant, remembering that you really are surrounded by a hostile environment and that a single emergency or a single, set of string of failures could bring you into a chance where you have to exercise some of that really important training that we had on the ground, which in my case was over 10 months ago. So remaining vigilant for handling any kind of emergency that comes up is important, but also remaining vigilant mentally and remembering how special it is here. It can become commonplace floating around, looking at Earth from above and things like that. So just remembering how special it is here and focusing on everything that I have and not necessarily the things that aren't in my environment, the things on Earth, has really been the thing that I focused on the most as my mission endured and got a little bit towards the end.
Kelly before he went up and during his flight and when he came back. He was a guinea pig. He went up for a long-duration flight. Maybe you weren't planned to be a guinea pig, but you are now. What contribution do you think you may have made to science as a scientist?
You know, just by virtue of being here and all of the physiological and human research studies that I'm a part of, it's pushing the envelope on what we can say is normal for a long-duration mission. Obviously, Scott Kelly's mission gave us one data point in that, and now this hopefully will expand that by a second data point so that we can look at what sort of stayed the same, what's different, and then in addition, the differences between women and men in that capacity, because obviously we all want to be a part of going forward for the longer duration missions that this research actually informs. So I hope that in participating in all those studies, I help the scientists be able to design missions better for astronauts in the future, going to Mars, living for a long time on the moon, or, you know, in the Lunar Gateway. So it's been my honor to kind of pave the way for those future missions.
You've got at least a couple of more weeks up there. Are you already thinking about the fact that you want to come back to Space Station?
You know, it's hard not to think about what is the future because, of course, as I think about leaving in about 10 days, I think, will I ever be back here? You know, am I saying goodbye for the last time, or will I get to come back? And if so, how will it have changed? So, yes, I'm definitely thinking about those kinds of things. It feels too soon, even though it has been a long time for me to not be contributing up here, you know, as an astronaut in the microgravity environment as I've been training to do, and I have had such practice in now. So with a little bit of luck, I will get a chance to do a future mission.
All right, we're going to try a lightning round. With the satellite delay, it's kind of difficult, but here we go with the lightning round. The smell you've missed the most?
The fall and the forest.
The food you've missed the most?
Chips and salsa.
Well, that you should be able to get pretty easy on station.
You would think that, but I'm going to have to tell you about the chips thing since you mentioned that. Anything flaky, actually, we can't have up here because as soon as you would bite into it, it would just go everywhere. So things like texture and things that are crunchy, we don't really have up here, so that's what I've been craving.
The activity you've missed the most? You spent a lot of time in ice and snow.
The activity I've missed the most up here is surfing.
And what has your husband said he's missed the most about you?
I think I would say help around the house. I like to do a lot of home maintenance, so he's been solo running those tasks for a while.
And the last one is Scott Kelly wanted to get and jumped into a swimming pool. The first thing you will do when you're completely free to do anything on Earth again?
Go swimming in the Gulf of Mexico.
All right, and I should ask before we say goodbye, gravity, do you miss it? Is it a good thing?
I only miss it when I just really want to put things down occasionally, but I've gotten used to Velcro and taping things down instead, so I don't really miss it. It's a lot more fun without it.
Christina Koch, thank you very much. Congratulations on the duration and for all the spacewalks and everything else. Great to see you. And safe travels home. We love to see you on the planet.
Thanks so much, David. Great speaking with you again, and I hope to see you back on the planet as well.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the ABC News portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from Associated Press.
Station, this is the Associated Press. How do you hear me?
Hello, the International Space Station has you loud and clear.
Christina, greetings from the AP at the Kennedy Space Center. By my count, this is Space Day 319 for you. And from down here, it seems as though your triple all-female spacewalks were the high point of your record-breaking mission. And I'm wondering, is that so? And how do you view the all-female spacewalks in the big scheme of things, and also from a personal standpoint?
Gosh, you know, I didn't know that was my day count, but that does kind of seem like a lot of days when you put it that way. And it is so difficult to pick the highlight, but I think you nailed it. I think that the opportunity to do the first all-female spacewalk with Jessica Meir, who is not only my coworker and colleague, but a dear friend, was a really special opportunity. I think that she and I both really appreciated and loved that it could serve as inspiration for future space explorers. We both drew a lot of inspiration from seeing people that were reflections of ourselves as we were growing up and developing our dreams to become astronauts. So to recognize that maybe we could pay that forward and serve the same for those that are up and coming was just such a highlight of that moment. I think in the greater scheme of things, it shows that we are committed right now to go for all and by all into our future space exploration. And that currently includes going back to the moon. We'll be going back to the moon, bringing the first woman to walk on the moon and the next man, and that's a really exciting time, recognizing that not leaving anyone's contributions, not leaving a single innovative idea on the table, and taking all of that from anyone who's has a dream, who's willing to contribute. It's just such an exciting time to be a part of this program.
Well, I know your astronaut class was half women and half men, but the astronaut corps still has a long way to go before becoming 50-50. How long do you think it's going to be before half the astronaut corps and half the station crew are comprised of women at any given time? And should that be a pressing goal for NASA?
You know, I do think that diversity is important, and I think it is something worth fighting for and something worth, you know, placing in a level of importance. As I could never say how long it's going to take, but I know that we are really looking forward to the coming years. We have a new astronaut selection period coming up, and recognizing that as that pipeline of women in STEM and other underrepresented folks in the STEM fields grows, we hope to then capitalize on that and bring that innovation and talent into the astronaut corps.
What surprised you most about yourself during the past 11 months in orbit?
You know, I think one of the biggest surprises is how the human body, both the mind and the physical body, can adapt to microgravity and adapt to spaceflight. When I first got here, everything seemed completely foreign. It was almost like I had to relearn just how to do the very basic things in life. And now I can't even imagine it any other way. I don't even really realize that I'm floating anymore. I have a lot of ability to orient myself despite the fact that I don't have gravity feeding my balance system like on Earth, and to see the human body adapt to that, to see the change in the fluids. You know, our bodies adapt to the lack of gravity, which normally pulls our bodily fluids down by changing around our, you know, the amount of volume and even in our bloodstream and things like that. So to watch that adaptation happen has been such an amazing surprise, and to sort of feel at the end of 10.5 months like I really have become adapted to the microgravity environment has been pretty neat.
How much longer do you think you could stay up there from both the mental and physical point of view, and do you wish you were staying even longer?
It's funny because I miss my friends and family dearly, and I would say if they could visit here, I would continue staying for a very long time. I absolutely love the work that I get to do here, and as I mentioned, I feel very adapted to life up here. So from my point of view, I would love to continue my mission and, you know, like I've said, to continue contributing to the program and to the research. But I do feel like it's been a long time since I've seen my friends and family. So for their sake, I think that it's probably time to head home.
What was the hardest thing you gave up when you rocketed into space last March? Obviously your husband and other family and friends, but besides that, what did you feel that you've given up that you really can't wait to get back to, or just something that's been a hardship, sacrifice, if you will?
You know, you named the things that I actually would say fall into that category. My husband and my family are the things that I really miss. Other than that, I have found that I really don't miss very much. The truth is, I know that all those things are waiting for me on the ground. And then during my time here, I've just really stayed focused on the things that I have that I may never have again, as opposed to the things that I don't have. And that really keeps me positive and keeps me focused, and really in a very happy kind of frame of mind up here. And it's a very fulfilling job, and I think that that personal fulfillment and that meaning to every day is the most important thing that you can ask for. And since I have that, I really don't miss too much on Earth.
Well, along those same lines, what was the hardest thing to adapt to in space, or to, as you were saying, to relearn to do things? What in particular was especially difficult, and was it more mental or physical in the challenge?
You know, I think just the kind of day-to-day aspects of moving around and being efficient in microgravity. Obviously, without gravity, things can just float away in any direction. So for someone like me that finds it a challenge to not lose my keys even, you know, on the Earth, up here I find that it's very easy to lose things. They can float away without you even noticing. So little things like that. I jokingly say, what's one thing I miss about gravity? And I would say it's the ability to put things down, because I really miss being able to just set things down on a table and not have them float away. But like I mentioned, I also have gotten used to using Velcro and tape when required. So I hope that when I go back to Earth, I don't accidentally drop things, especially when I'm handing them to people, because I'm not used to actually doing that with Gravity Vector.
So I have to ask, what food do you have a penchant for? What are you craving as soon as you get back, and what activity? I recall how Scott Kelly got home and jumped straight into a swimming pool. I don't know if you have any plans for something like that.
Well, as for food, because a lot of our food here is rehydrated, and it's kind of it doesn't have a lot of texture, because things that are crunchy would just float away as soon as you got any crumbs. So I really actually miss chips and salsa the most. Of course, I miss fresh fruit as well, but we have had some of that on our cargo vehicles. So it's interesting. I haven't had chips in about 10.5 months, but I have had a fresh apple. And in terms of my first activity, hands down, it's going to be going for a swim on the Gulf of Mexico. I do live next to the ocean there, and either a swim or a walk on the beach or going surfing are high on my list.
Has Scott offered you any advice about what to expect when you get back from a physical point of view, or even how, you know, during the mission over these past several months?
Yes, both he and Peggy Whitson have both been really helpful. I talked to both of them before I launched, when we knew it was a possibility, and then even since then I've called them, exchanged emails with them. Scott even reached out just recently to kind of outline all the things that he experienced both right before leaving and after returning. So they have been really, really helpful, and it's a great reminder to keep mentoring. I do hope that as soon as possible the record is broken again, because that means we're continuing to push the envelope, and when that happens, I hope to mentor that person just as I've been mentored.
Well, I have to know, tomorrow is your birthday. Happy birthday in advance. How are you going to be celebrating?
Thank you very much. Yes, it is. And actually, one of my favorite things to do is play board games, which is a little bit challenging here. But I did bring a travel version of a board game up, and it's been tough to find time to play it. So my crewmates have promised me that we're going to play board games after dinner tomorrow for my birthday.
Well, I have to ask, what game is it?
We'll be playing Scrabble if everything goes well.
Well, I hope they let you win. I imagine holidays were tough to miss while you were up in space. Did you have to miss some big events or milestones over the past 11 months? And probably would that have been some of the tougher mental challenges of the mission?
It is true that when you take on a mission like this, you have to accept and recognize that life moves on without you on the Earth, and that big things are going to happen. Things like my mom and my family on that side moved. They completely moved to a new part of the country. So that'll be fun to see their new place. The holidays, we are so lucky because we're able to spend those holidays virtually with our family. We have video conferencing on special occasions. So I've been able to sort of feel like I was a part of the family, watching my nieces and nephews open Christmas presents and things like that. So that was really special. And of course, we recognize that it's so special to spend that holiday in space as well. So that kind of takes any sting off of it, missing your family. But I certainly can't wait for my next anniversary at home, my next Christmas holiday at home, and to spend my husband's birthday with him and things like that.
Well, today, January 28th, is always a solemn day for the space community. I'm wondering if the crew will be doing anything today to honor the Challenger astronauts.
Yes, today being, I believe it's the 34th anniversary of the Challenger accident, it's definitely something that we all remember on a day like this. And in addition, many NASA centers, including Johnson Space Center, where all the astronauts are headquartered, has a day of remembrance. This year is going to be on January 30th. And on that day, we take a moment to symbolically recognize those that have made that sacrifice. As astronauts, we do special things like organize a T-38 formation flyover of a tree grove where trees are planted in remembrance. So we certainly do pay homage to those that, gave a sacrifice in advance and many years ago.
Well, Christine, it's been a pleasure. I'm hoping to see you launch on a Dragon Starliner or maybe go into the moon. Safe travels and Godspeed.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate your interest. It's been great speaking with you today.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes our event as we count down to 20 continuous years of humans living and working on the International Space Station.
Thank you to all the participants from ABC News and Associated Press. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.